This presentation will demonstrate the Meditech Expanse EMR for Goshen Health, including screens and functionality in place as of July 2022. Different users will access the chart through different methods. I'm emulating a type of user that has only EMR view access, so I will demonstrate 3 ways to find a patient. Some other users may access the chart through a desktop and will launch the EMR after selecting the patient. The first way is to use the recently accessed list on the right side of the screen. This will show 30 patients or 10 days, whichever comes first. You can just click on the patient name to open the chart. The second way to find a patient is to use the Any Location search. Click on the words Rounds Patients. You can see the options of different lists, but we're going to click on the Any Location. The system does remember the most recent list that you have used. The Any Location list brings up inpatient departments of the hospital as well as then outpatient departments. The system also remembers the most recent locations that you have searched for. When you find the patient from that list, just click on their name, and then that opens that chart. And the last way to find a patient is by entering their name in the Find Patient box at the top of the right screen. Start with the last name, comma, and the first name. You can enter a partial search here if desired. We'll bring up a list of names. It may be more than one. In this case, there's just one. So if there are multiple names that might be similar, make sure to check the birth date, the medical record number that you're looking for, maybe the last visit. You will want to search for medical record numbers, probably that start with an M, depending on the purpose. And that may bring up, again, a list of visits. So you'll pick the one that you wish and click Apply. And that will open those charts. The next topic is navigation. The header at the top of the screen will stay static throughout navigation in the system. To navigate between these screens, as you may have seen me doing, you can click on this Return To with an E, and you can see all the different windows that you have open. You can click on those lines as needed to navigate back and forth. If you are in a chart, one way to close a chart is to click on this Home button. We won't be doing that, but that will actually take you right back to this list from within a chart, and it will close the chart. We have, for this purpose, we've left the charts open. We're going to navigate back and forth between them. But normally you would look at one chart and then close it. Another option is the Close button here in the right-hand corner. That will close the chart. It may take you just back one screen. If you've been accessing through a desktop, it may take you back to your main menu. When you're ready to exit the system, you'll want to click on the Return To and then choose the Close All button. You want to avoid clicking on the Browser button in the top right. You'll get a message like this, and it will close the chart, but it is not best practice, and it is not the best way to close the system. Other buttons at the header of in the header are the chart, or you may see other buttons like Orders, Document, or Discharge. This is dependent on your access. This presentation will mainly cover the chart button. The menu button here in the top right has 2 options to show today. One is external links. There aren't any for this user, this test user, but what this will bring up are websites, URL links that can be accessed, such as UpToDate, Mosby, just any other websites, so you don't have to actually leave Meditech to view those websites. The other link is Set Print Preferences. So the main thing just to show here is you'll always want to have these two boxes checked, make default and show print destination screen. If you are going to be doing any printing, you just have to check to make sure those two boxes are checked. The next section will begin with the view of the chart. It is organized into two main sections, the summary region that you can see the tabs that look like folders, and the reference region, which is on the right-hand side of the screen. Each of these sections is organized with boxes or widgets, as we'll call them, that organizes the data. The reference region will stay static, regardless of which piece of the chart is open. You can see demographic information here at the top, and there are other widgets that are toward the bottom. To see what those widgets are, and we'll do this a lot, you'll see this, clicking on these arrows will expand and collapse the different widgets. This is another place where you can expand, collapse. If I want to see, I can see the different widgets one at a time by clicking on the arrows on the side. The account number box will show different visits for this patient. The one I'm viewing currently is this. This corresponds with the widget data. You can see here over on the left, it gives the date, registration date for this visit, and it corresponds with the account number. Some of the details for the reference region widget. The allergies is self-explanatory, shows the allergies for the patients. And in general, as you're clicking on, looking at different widgets, if there is a link on the widget, that means that you can click on that to see more information. For instance, vital signs, what shows in the widget are the most recent documentation for that patient. But if I want to see more detail, I click on the link and it brings up all of the different vital signs. The lab results. Current visit, I did click on the link a little bit early, but again, you can see I clicked on that. It brought up a lot more data behind the link. If I wanted to just see the most recent information, I would just view it here from the widget. And clicking will bring up different types of information, but here you can see there is a line that says most recent that will give you the most recent result for each of those different types of lab results. The orders snapshot will show orders that have been placed in the past 2 days. There are none on this patient. And the documents current visit will show provider notes, different types of documents. Again, we will look at those in more detail on another tab, but here you can see these departmental documents, and to see more detail, you can click on the name as needed. Just some view of the different icons that we'll be looking at. One example here that you can see, you'll see this a lot, is this paper icon. That's a report. You can click right into that and see whatever the report is. Another example is this lungs icon that we'll see in a few places. And when you click on that, it will actually take you to an image of the X-ray or whatever type of imaging report that is. The other place that you may see a lungs icon is in the cardiovascular or EKG section, and clicking on a lungs icon for an EKG will show the interface strip. There's, on this screen, there is not a camera icon, but we will see a camera icon in other places, and that will refer to a scanned document. So looking at the summary widgets, we have several types here. These gold tabs will show more visit data that is specific to this current visit or the most recent for the widget. The blue tabs are going to show more comprehensive data for different visits. So if you are looking at data on a blue tab, you want to make sure that you are aware of the dates. Reviewing each of these widgets, the special indicators will bring up information on any isolation or precautions this patient is on. When I click on that, I get this screen, and then I open the detail by clicking on the arrow, and that shows what type of isolation this patient is on. The INO will show a rolling 24 hours of the most current intake and output data. If I click on the link, I then see more detail that will show throughout the 24 hours. And if I want to see a cumulative for the whole stay, I can click on that cumulative tab. Lab results for the last 24 hours will show that. Lab results for the last 24 hours, we will look at a different patient that will have more detailed lab data in the diagnostics tab. But again, you can see those lab results by clicking on names or icons. The current visit medications will show active medications for this stay. And we will, again, if we would click on this link, it would take us to the medications tab, and we will view that a little bit later. The home medications shows home medications, and those would be reconciled by nursing probably. You can see that they are confirmed in this case. If you would see any medications that have not yet been confirmed, there would be a red question mark in front of the name, and that would indicate that those have not been fully reconciled yet. Immunizations will show just that. By clicking on the link, it would bring up more detail. It would give more information if there have been doses given here at the hospital. We also have an interface with the statewide registry called CHIRP. And if there is information that can be pulled in for this patient, there would be a box up here in the right side that would say reconcile external data. And then you could pull in that data for external immunizations. The medical summary widget will show possibly what's called a continuity of care document. This is a document that pulls data from, again, a statewide database. If the patient has visited any hospital in the state, a document is available for us to review. And if that has been acknowledged or pulled in by somebody here, that could be viewed in this widget. The implantable devices widget will show if a patient has had surgery and has had specific devices that have been implanted. Over here on the right, the PFSH widget stands for Patient Family Social History and does show different history items, problems that have been entered on previous visits or confirmed for this visit. And to see more detail, you can click on the arrows to the side. We'll look at this in more detail on another tab. The patient pharmacy will be shown on this widget. And if possibly the patient has been to more than one pharmacy, this will be viewed by clicking on the link. And then if there was more than one, they might be listed here, but the preferred pharmacy is the one that will show on the widget. Diagnostic departmental reports. Here's an example where you can see that camera icon to click on to view a scanned report. Diagnostic imaging reports. You can see these examples where the paper icon, we'll look at that in the diagnostics tab, but the paper icon and the lungs icon. For any of these items right here, diagnostic departmental, diagnostic image, or scanned documents, if I click on the main icon from the widget, I'm only going to get one result or one document. If I think that maybe there will be more than one behind, or I'm looking for more than one option of that type of document, I would want to click on the name. That would bring up all documents for this visit that have that name. And so you do want to make sure, if you're looking for something and you haven't seen the one that you're looking for, click on the name, because the widget is limited to the most recent one. Scan documents here, these show different types of legal documents, consent forms, registration forms, etc. Visits will show this visit, also past visits, similar to clicking on the account number box, but it gives a little more detail in the visits widget. And the visit level care team shows the different providers who are caring for the patient for this visit. Moving to the activity tab. The activity tab shows comprehensive data with various views, and there's a lot of data that can be seen in the activity tab. You will learn that if this is helpful for your work, you can use this. It may not be necessarily helpful depending on your workflow. It will always default to a certain view for your access. In this case, it's the visits button, and then you could change that. There are different types of sort: activity log, all activity. There's also an option to filter for different types of data, for time frame, and different options that way. If you do change a view or a sort, you can do that by patient, but as soon as you go into another patient, it will always default to the original view based on your access. The flowsheet panel also has comprehensive data and tends to be maybe used by colleagues or users who are looking at retrospective data, or who like to see multiple pieces of data at the same time. There will be one default flowsheet for you based, again, on your access. There are other default, other flowsheets that can be viewed depending on which data is desired. The History and Problems tab shows just that. You've got a History tab and a Problems tab. And these have been entered by either providers or by nurses, and you can click on the arrows to see more detail to expand. The problem list shows active problems or all problems. The Administrative tab has 5 different sections, and again, you can click on those headers to open those. The History tab shows the registration date, and if the patient was discharged. If you're looking retrospectively, it will show the discharge date and time, and other information specific to that visit. Demographics tab shows demographics, address, contact information, employer, and so forth. The Insurance tab will show general insurance, policy number, etc. The Legal tab will show various information, questions that may have been answered during the registration process, and it does show not just this visit, but other visits as well. The Advanced Directives information is found in the Legal tab, and also different codes that have been coded in previous visits, and then scanned documents, maybe consent forms. Any Advanced Directives forms would be found scanned in this section as well. The Appointments tab will show future appointments, past appointments that are scheduled at the hospital. The Other Clinical tab. Most of these, you can see several of these have information that has been viewed on a widget or might have been viewed previously. but there are two areas that we may not have seen already. And one of those is the blood bank summary. If the patient has had a transfusion, that information will show up here on this tab. And the second is surgeries, selected visits. By clicking on the link here of the procedure, you can actually see the detail of the intraoperative information. Going back to a different patient, we wanted to look at the diagnostics section. So the diagnostics, the first section that comes up is the laboratory. And this is will list all of the different types of labs. The buttons here on the left will only be seen if there are results behind them. So some patients may have more buttons listed here depending on the results that have been entered. One thing that you will be able to see here is there will be a black bar that will indicate where the visit starts. So everything here to the right of this black bar is part of this current visit. You can see that also in the all by scrolling over a little bit, and you see the black bar here. So that's showing that everything to the right is this visit. If it's not in this example, but if there are results within the last 24 hours, the header here at the top will be in bold, and you will be able to see a visual reminder that that information is most recent. The imaging tab has all of the imaging screens results, and if I click on, say, the paper icon and then viewing the report, I can either have clicked on this lungs icon from here, from the screen, or I'm going to launch the image. And again, I will see the actual image from the PACS system. If I want to see other reports, I can just click on them from the list. I don't have to go out and then come back in to view those other reports. The microbiology tab shows micro reports. If the result has been positive for a certain type of specimen, I'll see that red bar. I will also be able to click on the paper icon to view the report. Pathology will have, again, a paper icon that the pathology report can be viewed. Blood bank tests will be listed there that may have been drawn for preparation for a transfusion. Wanted to show this cardiovascular tab. So here is this cardiovascular tab is where you would see EKGs or echocardiogram results. This does show a camera icon. You would see possibly a lungs icon here if an EKG was the interfaced report. And then other specialty shows more scanned documents. The provider notes tab shows provider notes that have been done, history and physical, discharge summaries, progress notes, etc. And as with the other reports, if I click on one document, I can see the document. I can go to another document just by clicking on down the list. I do not have to close one document and go in. So I can view different documents that way. Nurse Allied Health shows information that is documented by nursing, by rehab services, and other disciplines. These headers are grouped into those disciplines, and you can click on the headers to expand the more detailed information. If I want to see specific information on a certain assessment, I click on the name and it brings up the most recent documentation for that assessment. If I want to see all of the times that that assessment was documented, I can click on the history tab and then it gives me that. And if I need to see earlier dates, I would use the scroll bar, and there might be also arrows here that would, if I want to go back farther. I can do some different sorts and views here if I'm looking for specific information. Clicking on the clinical specialty, I can change this to an activity log view. When I have this view, I can sort by the description of the assessment. So it would alphabetize that, or by date, or by the author of the assessment. So that's one option. When you're in this activity log view, you can also specifically search by pressing Control F and searching for a certain name, or if say you don't want to have to search in the middle of an alphabetized list. So Control F will bring up a find search that you can sort that way. And then another way, say if I wanted to see just notes, for instance, I can click on the filter and I want to say nursing notes. I just want to see nursing notes. So I unselect, deselect, and just say nursing notes. When I click apply, I will then see just the nurse's notes. And within notes, you can actually also see various things. I can see the selected one. If there were multiple ones on the same date, those would all be listed. Then if I still want to see all notes, I can see all different notes, not just nursing notes. I would see maybe dietitian or rehab notes, for instance. So there are different options for sorting and filtering within Nurse Allied Health. The Medications tab will show active medications while the patient is here. You'll see IV fluids, medications, PRN medications, and discontinued medications would show up here as well. If you want to view administration on a medication, click on the name and it will bring up when that was administered, who administered it, if there was any documentation that was done as part of the administration. You could see that here by clicking on the bubble. There are a few other views that you can see with the Medications tab. Medication history does show the history of order when the medication is active, maybe that it was canceled or discontinued. There's also the visit snapshot, which shows different parts of the visit. Maybe there was a transfer for a patient, and that would each time, anytime a patient had a different list of medications that might have been updated, those would be viewed within each of the tabs with the visit snapshot. This concludes the presentation of the Meditech web chart. If you have questions as you're viewing the chart, you can always contact the IT service desk at extension 2442, and they can route your request to the appropriate team.